John Deere recently made a move that sent shockwaves across Washington and lit up trading tables from Wall Street to Sao Paulo. On paper, the statement appeared to be a smart expansion, but it really sparked a far larger conflict, one that affects everything from trade policy and political loyalty to the destiny of labor itself. The corporation has revealed ambitions to extend operations into Mexico, not tomorrow, not in theory, but right now, as a completely new manufacturing plant is under construction and set to open in 2026. So, what was the response? Explosive. Before we proceed, please click the like button to help us defeat the YouTube algorithm and show your support. Donald Trump didn't waste any time. President Donald Trump became enraged and attacked the firm on live television, describing it as an act of treachery. Then he dropped the hammer, threatening to impose a 200% tariff on every single Deere product manufactured outside of American boundaries. The message was plain. If you eliminate employment, we will ensure that your products never return without paying a political price. The media pounced, investors held their breath, and rural America sat on the sidelines, caught in the crossfire between the guy they voted for and the firm they rely on. This was not simply a headline. It was a reckoning. Deere's decision was not taken lightly. Behind closed doors, board members had been debating the decision for months. They had data, projections, and pressure. Because the data did not lie. The cost of manufacturing equipment in the United States has skyrocketed. Supply chains were congested, manpower was limited, and rivals were becoming faster, cheaper, and smarter. Companies such as Kubota in Japan and Mahindra in India have previously mastered low-cost manufacturing throughout Asia. Deere was playing catch-up. What about the solution? Mexico has 70% reduced labor costs, a competent workforce, and logistical access to Latin America's thriving agricultural markets. However, it was not simply about payroll. It was about surviving. U.S. ports were clogged, domestic freight was unpredictable, raw supplies were delayed, and each setback cost Deere time and money. A factory in Mexico provided them with flexibility, speed, and closeness to one of the world's fastest expanding agricultural economies: Brazil, Argentina, and Colombia. Agriculture is not only increasing but also booming in some markets. Deere made the call. $55 million investment. A cutting-edge factory for manufacturing mid-frame skid steer loaders and small track loaders. Machines designed to serve the agricultural market's fastest-growing segment, small to mid-sized farms. The sort that requires technology, efficiency, speed, and above all, affordability. For Deere, this was not a betrayal. It was a strategy. But for Trump, it was personal. Before we continue, press that subscribe button to show your support for the channel. He stood behind a platform in Iowa and thundered, while John Deere just spit in the faces of American workers. They want to construct our machines elsewhere. Fine, but they will not bring them back here without paying a high price. The basis consisted of red beef. However, it was also something else. That was a warning shot. To Deere, to other manufacturers, to the marketplace. Trump drew a line in the sand, and anyone who crossed it would face political consequences. However, the corporation did not blink. There were no apologies, no backtracking. Deere responded in a cautious but obvious manner. Mexico's expansion would affect fewer than 5% of North American production. The heart of its business, huge tractors, harvesters, and combines, would continue to be manufactured in Iowa, Illinois, and other U.S. facilities. They were not leaving America. They were optimizing for the entire planet. Then came the investor response. Wall Street held the line. Following a slight slump, Deere's shares recovered. Bloomberg and Goldman Sachs analysts described the decision as prudent, foresightful, and important. The reasoning was indisputable. Growing agricultural demand was migrating southward. Production has to meet the shift. Tariffs are imposed by politicians. They may harm in the short term, but not enough to derail a multi-decade development strategy. In fact, some insiders feel Trump's threats are benefiting Deere in disguise, because any tariffs imposed will affect all international producers. And despite its growth into Mexico, Deere still manufactures the majority of its products in the U.S. Competitors include Mahindra, Yanmar, and Kubota. They don't. Ironically, the tariff impact might be harsher for Deere's competitors, but none of that was relevant in the court of public opinion. Rural voters, particularly in swing areas, started to divide. The fight unfolded like a family feud on Facebook groups and talk radio call-ins. One side supported Deere as a key company attempting to adapt. The other demanded devotion, describing the move as a smack in the face. Trump's congressional allies joined the chorus. Senators from deep red states made remarks urging Deere to reconsider its course. The House Agriculture Committee has scheduled hearings. The White House proposed scrutinizing government contracts to verify that no public cash are spent on Deere imports. Behind the scenes, Deere's lobbyists moved into high gear. They met with trade authorities. They pitched congressional staff. They reminded everyone that John Deere is more than simply a brand. It is a pillar of U.S. agriculture. The rural infrastructure is dependent on their equipment. That prohibiting or taxing it would penalize the farmers who are supposed to be protected by tariffs. Trump escalated. He reiterated his warning during a rally in Ohio. He mentioned Deere 5 times. He promised to impose tariffs so high that they would never forget. The audience let up a yell. But Deere wasn't alone. Other firms were keeping an eye out. If Deere capitulated, the message would be obvious. No corporation could operate internationally without risking political repercussions. But if Deere stood firm, it might establish a precedent, a new line, one in which corporate executives base their judgments on data rather than campaign threats. So far, Deere is holding. Meanwhile, the corporation isn't only thinking about where to construct. It is thinking about what it will construct. The future of agriculture is neither red, white, or green. It's electric. It functions on its own. It is intelligent. Deere's investment in automation is massive. Its self-driving tractors are now operating in fields across the United States. Its software section is creating artificial intelligence systems that can oversee entire farms from a tablet. Drones seek out pests. Machines spray with centimeter precision. Data moves in real time. The real kicker is that these machines don't care where they're created. They simply care about working quickly and efficiently. This leads us back to the fallacy that Trump continues to sell. The promise of employment returns. It sounds forceful. It earns applause. However, it does not hold up in today's production environment. Because even if Deere transferred all of its factories back to Iowa tomorrow, the positions would not be filled. They would go to the machines. Automation isn't political. It's mathematical. According to Oxford Economics, robots have the potential to eliminate up to 20 million manufacturing jobs worldwide by 2030. And the tendency is accelerating. Deere does not dodge American labor. It envisions a world in which labor as we know it does not exist. And this is what makes the battle so significant. On one side, a populist president promises to restore a world that no longer exists. On the other hand, a worldwide firm is preparing for a world that has already come. It's nostalgia versus innovation, emotion versus execution. And somewhere in the midst is the American farmer trying to decide who to trust. So what comes next? It all relies on you. Will voters blame Deere for making a move it feels will keep business alive? Or will they penalize Trump for jeopardizing access to the equipment that keeps American fields operational? Share your opinions in the comments, because this war is more than simply tariffs. It's about the future. If you found this breakdown useful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more in-depth analyses like this one. Stay keen and interested.